In this video, we're going to be learning about a few of the many coincidences that had to happen in order for you, me, or any life at all to exist. In order for life to evolve, our planet had to be relatively stable for hundreds of millions of years. But having a planet that's that stable for so long is incredibly difficult to make. So let's start at the beginning. In the beginning, there was nothing, or at least nothing that we knew of. And then there was a huge explosion of heat, mass, and energy that was larger than we can even comprehend. And in the first second after, the universe was born, and atoms were created. Now, atoms are comprised of three main parts: protons, neutrons, and electrons. And the whole thing is held together by something called the strong nuclear force. Now, atoms are formed in such a way that neutrons weigh slightly more than protons, which means that neutrons will eventually decay into protons when they enter a lower energy state. Now, what's really interesting is that if the proton had been just 1% heavier, protons would decay into neutrons, and all nuclei would then become unstable and dissociate, as neutrons have no charge. Now, as you can imagine, the world would be pretty different if that were the case, as atoms are the basis of everything. Without them, there would be no elements, stars, planets, or life. So not only is the mass ratio of the protons and neutrons perfect, but the strength of the strong nuclear force is also just right. If the strong nuclear force were a bit weaker, heavier nuclei could not have been held together, and none of the elements could be created in the interior of stars by a process called nucleosynthesis. These properties of physics made a universe that has stable elements, stars, and planets. But making a planet that is suitable for life requires a vast set of its own conditions. For example, the Earth is the perfect distance from the Sun. If the Earth were further from the Sun, it'd probably resemble Mars, where water and CO2 are frozen solid. If the Earth were closer to the Sun, it'd probably look more like Venus, where the CO2-rich atmosphere and close proximity to the Sun make temperatures blaze to about 900 degrees Fahrenheit. Indeed, we are in the Goldilocks zone from the Sun, the right distance to have liquid water, the universal solvent, which is essential to create the chemicals of life. So not only are we the perfect distance from the Sun, but we're also in the perfect timing of the Sun's life cycle. Doomsday will occur in approximately 5 billion years, when the Sun will expand, as all stars do, into a red giant, engulfing the Earth in the process. So we are in just the right place at just the right time. Not only do we live in the Goldilocks zone of the Sun, but we also live within a range of other Goldilocks zones. For example, if we didn't have the Moon, we wouldn't be here. The Moon struck the Earth as an asteroid during the Hadean period, when the Earth was just beginning to harden from a molten marble. This seeming catastrophe turned out to be a blessing. The Earth's gravity caught its attacker, and the two began their celestial dance. The Moon is just the right size to stabilize Earth's orbit. If the Moon were smaller, even teeny shifts in Earth's spin could accumulate over millions of years, causing Earth to wobble and create drastic changes in the climate that would make life impossible. Computer programs estimate that without the Moon, Earth's axis would have shifted by as much as 90 degrees over many millions of years. This, of course, would have been catastrophic. Scientists believe that the creation of DNA required hundreds of millions of years of climatic stability. An Earth that was constantly tipping on its axis would create wild changes in temperature, and that thus make the creation of DNA impossible. Surprisingly, we also wouldn't be here if we didn't have Jupiter. Jupiter's large size causes it to have strong gravity, which it uses to fling asteroids into space. If we didn't have Jupiter, Earth and the other planets would be constantly pelted by asteroids, which would make life pretty impossible. I mean, just ask the dinosaurs. Like Jupiter, Earth is also the right size. If Earth were a bit smaller, its gravity would be so weak it could not keep its oxygen. If it were too large, it would retain many of the early poisonous gases, making life impossible. Earth has just the right weight, and thus gravity, to keep the atmospheric composition beneficial for life. Scientists also believe that Earth has just the right amount of oceans, tectonic plates, oxygen, heat content, tilt of axis, etc., to create intelligent life. We are lucky in that all of these physical and astronomical conditions were perfect to allow for the possibility of life on Earth. But the coincidences that happened on Earth for life to evolve from this to that are similarly astounding. Most of all life on Earth has been single-celled organisms called prokaryotes, which lived in the sea and ate chemicals in their environment. Some prokaryotes even ate each other. One leading hypothesis, called the endosymbiosis hypothesis, suggests that at least twice, a larger prokaryote ate a smaller single-celled organism, which ended up surviving, eventually becoming the mitochondria and chloroplasts that are in cells today. Now I'm going to run through how evolution works at a very basic level. Eventually, cells came together forming multicellular organisms which shared DNA. DNA encodes our body's development, but sometimes it can have mutations. Usually mutations have no effect, but sometimes it can help or hurt the organism's survival. If it hurts the organism's survival, those genes will go no further. This process went on and hit dead ends at every turn. But life prevailed, even through 5 mass extinctions, and all of this took place over 3.8 billion years. In conclusion, I hope you all learned at least 2 things. First, to be a bit more cognizant of how amazing it is that we are here. Because everything that we assume to be normal, like the sun and the moon and the sky, having air to breathe, ground to walk on, water to drink, eyes to see, or a consciousness to interpret this world we live in, these things aren't normal. They're the exception. Scientists are still trying to figure out exactly how unique or rare our planet really is. But so far, none of the other discovered solar systems meet all the requirements that Earth has. And second, that life on Earth is fragile. We have already gone through 5 mass extinctions in which most of all life on Earth was wiped out. And data shows that we have just entered the 6th. Watch my next video to find out more about the 6th mass extinction, and to find out, can we stop it and can we survive it? Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. I also wanted to thank Michio Kaku for writing this book, Parallel Worlds, which gave me the inspiration for this video.